Hello everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. In this video, we're going to talk about some upgrades and changes that we've made to the energy products that I develop here, create and make here at Truly Holistic. And why we've changed them is according to the current energies that are currently happening. Okay, there was a big shift late 2020 in late December, where all of a sudden the energies were switching towards neutrality for not only individuals who are working and doing the collective work, doing the conscious work, for themselves, but in also the collective, the people that would call haven't awakened yet, okay? And which is a huge thing for humanity going forward, because there is a consciousness. Everything originates at consciousness, of course, but there has been an evolvement for quite some time in regards to a consciousness, but also an evolvement of seeing humanity grow and evolve at that level, which is now happening. The control mechanisms of limiting humanity into a divide and conquer duality, all that energy is now shifted away from that and is shifting to neutrality, which is this level of existence that rises above duality. Okay? And instead of all energies going in as a collective to use duality solutions to try and resolve duality problems, which hasn't worked for a very long time. Hence, humans don't really like change. You'll notice that we're not very good at change. It's been like that for quite some time, for many lifetimes, and now even the people that haven't awakened are gonna see ways of adapting and changing that is not according to duality anymore. So therefore those duality problems can finally evolve. We can finally evolve and move away from those, because we're going to come up with solutions that are neutrality based, rise above duality to create the results we want to create. So with this energy that's changed, what has also happened within this reality is that everything within this reality is now ascending. Okay? So what is that? What does that mean? All right? So that includes not only consciousness interfacing the human and the human itself, but this includes the microbes. Okay? This includes plants, this includes animals, everything within this reality. Now I want a special mention in regards to the microbes. Here at Truly Holistic, we work at the quantum level, right? Which is consciousness. Because we see everything happening here in the physical is just a projection of what's happening at a consciousness level. And if we're projecting from a place of sabotage, then we're projecting from the mind. Okay, this word projection's been coming up a lot. But we've been doing this consciousness work for quite some time. But this is more in line with while we're interfacing a human. At the human level, our vitality relies on a symbiotic relationship with the microbes. We've all heard it, that there is more microbial DNA, more microbial cells on our body and in our body than our own cells, if we look at it at that level. Okay? When we look at the quantum level, we don't see boundaries between in the body and outside the body. It's just field that is then decoded by the brain and then flipped into a form where we see a physical reality, which the human body is part of that. But these microbes are bound and connected to consciousness too, and the universal law is that all consciousness must evolve. So the fact that now this reality is pro-ascension, not anti-ascension, not trying to limit our capabilities, the energies are now being facilitated to enable ascension, which is a big thing. It's now our understanding of how to use our abilities now. So it's not about looking over our back thinking who's these bad guys that are going to take us down. It's now about understanding how we use our abilities in a way that's constructive, not destructive. So not in a duality way, but rising above it. Neutrality, right? So coming back to the microbes, what we're seeing of late is that while we've been ascending, the microbes need to ascend too. And every individual, human being, or consciousness interface in the human are all walking a path, right? It's walking their journey, which science calls evolution. And we're all going to have our own speed of doing that, okay? Same with the animals, same with the plants, same with the microbes, okay? And what we've been finding in session work is that certain areas of the body, you may be more evolved than the microbes in that area, and that becomes a problem because that symbiotic relationship's being stretched, you know? Or an area where the microbes have evolved more than you have, okay? And then you're creating an environment in that part of your body that's not necessarily sustaining those microbes, and those microbes' behaviors change. We see that a lot, okay? When we look at what an infection is, okay, if we look at that law that all consciousness must evolve, if the microbes don't have an environment in the body where they're working symbiotically with you, where the energy is not sustaining their ability to evolve, they end up changing their behavior. Instead of working with the body, they work against the body, and they behave in a pathogenic manner, and they start to feed on your energy to continually evolve their own consciousness. Okay, so you can see how that symbiotic relationship of the microbes within the human working together is very vital at this level while we live out our reality or existence as a human. Okay, so that's been a real eye-opener. So we've been rectifying that and helping people with that in session work. But let's get back to the tools. As I said, well, this video is about the tools, and so we've made adjustments regarding the tools. Up to this point, we've kind of dowsed for certain particular people to see if they're compatible for a particular cubit measure that I make the tool out of, because the tools that I make, I also distribute a range called Crystalline Incorporated as well. Fantastic tools. But also make a lot of tensor technology tools myself. And we use essentially mainly 3 cubit measures which were channeled to me. You will not get those anywhere else, only here at Truly Holistic. And they're all connected with one another because it's really the evolvement process of ascendance or transcendence is what we call the activation cubit, then the gateway cubit, and the ascension cubit. The activation cubit, again, is kind of that process of where you originally become awakened, okay? Trying to connect back into that heart space instead of the mind. The gateway cubit is this gateway or channel that originates on this end of that portal gateway that's here at the sacred heart. That's why the heart's got a rhythm and a rate to it, a beat to it, right? Did you know, just to mention this, did you know that when you are conceived, you are, before the heart is even formed, the physical heart's even formed, your blood vessels that are already formed without the heart are pulsing. Now, we get told in medicine and science that the heart is the pump. Well, the heart wasn't even there to begin with, but there was a pulse, a beat already in the blood vessels when you're being conceived, before the heart even before it gets formed. Now, what's creating that is it's that vortex of energy that is on the end of that portal gateway, which we call the sacred heart, okay? So that column then is a column which we essentially use the gateway qubit to facilitate with these tools, which then take you all the way back to source, and that source self energy, which is the qubit measure we call the ascension qubit, has all qubit measures because that's the full spectrum of light when we reach that end. That's what we call ascendance. Okay, when we connect back to truly who we are, and we are infinite consciousness. Okay. Now, along that gateway path is when we go into all different dimensions, realms, or realities, or planes of existence, we can call them, where your higher selves exist, which are all part of that same source energy that you are connected to. It's like your soul or source family tree, right? But they live and exist in different higher levels or realities. So we use these 3 qubit measures to make the tools, and up to this point, we've dowsed to see which qubit measures are right for at your place or your time in your ascendance. As I said, this ascension path is going to be different for every single one of us. Okay. Now, for most people, lately, where people are able to use the activation, the gateway, and the ascension qubit. Many people starting off with the activation and eventually feeling that something changed within them, which usually tells them that that particular qubit measure is no longer serving them. They're ready to upgrade, and then they'll go to the gateway, and then a lot of people are now they're highly evolved and highly intuitive people themselves, healers as well, are using the ascension qubit and just using that alone. But whenever I've asked to use all 3 qubit measures for food, to structure food to that level and water to that level, it's always said no. It's always said just use the activation of the gateway, not the ascension. Okay? But recently, in the last few weeks, it's told me to do that now. Add the ascension now for our food and our water, because everything within this reality is now ascending to another level. Okay, so if you're someone out there that has that ascension qubit measure already, tools that you've purchased from me, start incorporating that more with your food and your water. Okay, and tell me how it feels. You'll notice changes and notice differences with it. So I've had a rethink of all the tools, of course, which we use those 3 qubit measures. And we've made some changes. A few of the tools have kind of got rid of because they just don't serve the current energies that we've currently got. One thing I must say, all tensor rings, it doesn't matter what qubit measure, store columns of light. So they will help to a certain degree. But everyone knows how driven I am in regards to my finger on the pulse of ascension, the energies that are currently happening. People come to me for my session work and realize that every week by week, things are changing and evolving. Okay, and that's something that I like to provide here at Truly Helix for my clients. Okay, and as I say in other videos, if you want to see a practitioner or an energy healer, because the energy is always shifting and moving, you want to go to a practitioner that is evolving their practice. And we certainly do that here at Truly Holistic, and this is what this video is about. We're evolving the tool, all the products now. And so there's a bracelet that we create, which is called the AccuVac bracelet, which has got a little coil on the bracelet. The band of that bracelet, we've now changed it from the activation to the gateway. Now, I have still opened the opportunity to having both activation or gateway band, depending on the wrist size, because the gateway qubit is quite a bit smaller than the activation. The activation is quite a big one. So I have put a little bit of a side note on my website to say that if you've got a large wrist, perhaps mention that you want the activation band. Otherwise, the best one would be that gateway qubit band that changed to now. The little coil on it is gateway qubit already. Now, we also were selling or making a bracelet which was with the activation ring and the gateway ring, but we've now added a third ring into the mix. So the little one there is the Ascension qubit. Okay, so now we've got the activation, the gateway, and the Ascension. So we've got those three main qubit measures, which is just going to elevate the spectrum of light that's coming through now. So that's why we've adapted that and changed that. We've also, we're making some product with silver as well, which we've come to the end of. We've kind of running out of the silver at this point in time. We'll probably do silver in the future somewhere at some point. But we've adapted one of the tools, one of the pendants I really love, and I think we've even made it better with copper. And this one's called the Ascension Infinity. So it's all made out of copper now, but we've now welded the Infinity right in the middle of the Ascension. Plus this is 10 gauge, a little bit thicker, the ring. I love it. It feels really good. You place it here as a pendant so it's close to the heart. Because what this is doing is you're bringing this column of light that holds all qubit measures, but then you've got the Infinity, which is expanding that out. So you're bringing, the thing about your auric field is your auric field is always expanding in and out depending on how connected to self you are through the heart space or disconnected you are when you're here in the mind. When we're disconnected from that higher energy of ourselves, this column of light that goes through that heart space, then our auric field shrinks down. So our ability to affect or change this reality around us diminishes, and we get frustrated and we get all these things that lower vibration because we're being stuck in the mind or mind orientated. And but when we're connected into the heart, we're able to expand our auric field out because more of our energy that is outside of this reality, we can bring it here by create what we call creating holding space. And this little Infinity allows us to have infinite reach, so it really expands your auric field out. So if you're really looking at wanting to do that, I recommend the Ascension Infinity. Also, we've got a large trio set for the 3 qubit measures I've just mentioned. So that is a perfect example of all 3 qubit measures, but you can notice a big difference, the size. So these are for practitioner people that are practitioners already, and one to do work on the body. So those are the 3 qubit measures. So you've got the activation on the outside, you've got the Ascension, and then you've got the gateway in the middle. So that's another product range that we've got as well. Also, the Wi-Fi ring, which is originally used to be was the activation qubit ring. We've upgraded that now. So the whole idea for the Wi-Fi ring is the thing about the Wi-Fi, that's energy that distorts our energy field or distorts energy. It turns it in a chaotic field, so an unstructured field, and that affects us. So if you're somebody that you're worried about Wi-Fi and the effect of Wi-Fi, we've been resolving it with this little activation ring. But now what we've done is we've enhanced that, and now we're using for the Wi-Fi ring an activation qubit little ring, and you use it just the same way, place it on your Wi-Fi router, but that it just enables to bring more of your light here. So it's just a better field than what we were using before. So yeah, go and check it out. All the products now I've updated on my page, on my product page at treatyholistic.net. And some really, really high energy tools there. As I say, I still distribute the crystalline energy range, which they've recently brought out to LED triple pyramid tool design, which incorporates a lot of energy healing things, including LED lights, okay, using a full spectrum of light, using that. It's got shungite within the pyramid as well, and a whole other things, a number of things that check that out on my product page. but also we've still got a special on the Ascendant tools, which help to connect you to your higher aspects of yourself, all your higher selves. Also the Ascension Activator, which brings again that full spectrum of your light here, and then to expand it out into your environment about 50 feet. So it's great to have that within the home to create an energy field. And I've also we've still got a few more of the silver Ascension clasps. This is a copper version of the Ascension clasp. Now that's another addition is we were making this with the Gateway Qubit for this copper range, but we're now only making it with the Ascension Qubit range because again, energies are just facilitating this qubit measure more now. And a special note about these bracelets. These bracelets are fantastic. We first originally were using the bracelet with the AccuVac coil on it, which I still love. And for the people that love the coils, they love those particular products. But it's a lot bulkier because we're using a 10 gauge wire to create the band. These are created with 14 gauge. And this is actually an intact ring, where the bands that we use with the 10 gauge are not a fully structured ring. And what I love about this bracelet is you can hardly feel it's on you. It's so light. I really, really love these types of bracelets. We just call them a clasp type bracelet. So I do recommend that. Otherwise, I think that's everything I wanted to mention about the additions that we've got now with our products. And also give you a bit of an update of what the energies are like at the moment in regards to the microbes and everything within this reality. You know, all the areas we use sustaining energy, which food is definitely one of those. Things are transforming and things are going in the right direction. But with change, there can be a bit of a rocky road with change because, as I said, humans for a very long time at this level have really resisted change. You know, we've been in a duality reality where this divide and conquer scenario is really governed and controlled and limited our capabilities. So, you know, change doesn't necessarily go smoothly, and I think that's why we're seeing really what we're seeing at the moment with 2020 and going into 2021 currently. So be patient. Things are moving in the right direction. Until next time.